Decision making is not just something you're trying to teach your student, it's something that you have to manage as well as an instructor. And so we talk about here, stay inside the box. Well, what's the box? The box is your ability as the instructor. You have to stay inside the realm of where you're confident and capable in the aircraft. If you let your student take the flight to a place you don't feel comfortable operating or getting back from, you've created an extremely hazardous situation in which you're going to have to kind of go off-roading, as it were. If you intervene and prevent your student from doing something that takes you outside of your operating box, then you always know that you're in a position to get the flight back from wherever your student might take you. The student versus the event comes down to, is what's happening during your training event commensurate with your student's ability as well as the training that's going on? If you're out in Nellis executing a full-on red flag event and your student got thrown on to do maybe a beginner level turf card, well, your training and ops have failed you as an instructor, but if you just let your student take it on, you're going to encounter a tremendous amount of risk as an instructor. This is where you might need to step in and take a more active role, planning portions of the event that you know your student isn't going to be prepared for, or potentially going all the way to pushing back against your training and operations department to let them know this training event isn't suitable for this student and see where that takes you. And they might tell you, operations priority, right? We have to get this card completed. This student has to make it to the next syllabus before they go on debt, whatever it might be. And that's where you want to weigh how much does that operations priority weigh against the risks that you see in the event as the instructor, as well as operations priority within students on maybe a multi-aircraft or multi-student event. Be sure to take a look at which students are on single ship versus dual ship required cards, who requires OPT4 or external assets for their card, and figure out in the event of a maintenance fallout or aircraft issue, weather issue, to take a look and say, okay, how can I realign this event to maximize the opportunity? And then lastly, always leave yourself outs. No matter what you're doing along your flight, make sure that you've identified where you as an instructor can get out. Whether that's issues with weather, low altitude operations, or any type of high risk training, whether that's a power margin, a airspeed buffer, an altitude buffer, or just a knowledge of, the nearest turn away from terrain that falls away and lets you regroup if your student makes a mistake. But all these topics that we've talked about, energy management, planning, all of that, you have to use those to create outs for yourself as an instructor, because your student will put you at risk in ways you never anticipated. And our last topic is qualities of an instructor. Listed here, honesty, integrity, subject matter expertise, patience, planning, and commitment. These are the core qualities that you want to try to live up to as an instructor. And these are the things I strive for every day, and I know how hard it is because I know I miss these. There's always going to be something that you miss as an instructor, and that's where that integrity comes in to say, I wasn't as good today as I could have been. Here's something that I know I can do better on. Honesty is that quality of never lying to your students. They will catch you and they will not believe anything you tell them from then on. If they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, it's a great opportunity to talk to them about where you can find resources. As an instructor, you don't have to be someone who knows everything. I know I don't know everything. I look stuff up all the time, and I encourage my students to look stuff up. That's where you'll find out the ground truth answers. And if you try to BS your way through something with a student, they will catch you, and you become invalid at that point. You've already shown that you're willing to just make something up to give them an answer and send them on their way, and initially they'll probably believe you because they don't have a reason not to, but once they come upon the real answer and they realize you BS'd them, all your credibility's gone out the window. Now you can counter that with subject matter expertise. As an instructor, you gotta keep studying. It's not just your students who need to be studying, gaining knowledge. As an instructor, you wanna have those answers. You want students to be able to come to you with questions and have answers to give them, as well as you wanna have the knowledge necessary to model and explain the things you want your students to do. So I try to make time every day, every week to study new things and see what's out there, reread old references that I haven't read in a while, and try to make myself better. Patience, as they say, is a virtue, and it's definitely a good quality in an instructor. Your students, especially new students, nuggets in the squadron, they're likely not going to be great at least a few things starting out. As the instructor, you can greatly increase their chances of success by being patient with them, trying new things, trying new instructional strategies, using some of the techniques that we talked about throughout this course to try to find a way to communicate with them and have them make that breakthrough where they're really understanding the material and they're moving forward. Instructors with little patience generally lead to students who feel frustrated and don't feel like they're making progress because their instructor is quick to dismiss them and move on and assign them a label as, maybe not capable or just not smart or bad pilot. And planning is going to come into pretty much all of this as you try to find a way in your schedule to plan your events and to find time to study and incorporate these things into your training. And as a result, it's not just planning the flight events that is important, but it's also planning your time as an instructor for what time do you have for preparing student events, doing your other jobs associated in the squadron, and then taking time to make yourself better and improve. And lastly is commitment. This all seems like a lot of work because it is, and you have to be pretty committed to the training in order to be a good instructor. You're gonna make mistakes. I make them every day. You gotta find a way to learn from that and get better. That's what makes you a good instructor, is that you're always trying to improve yourself and improve your students. I hope this training material has been useful for you and provided you with things that you can use going forward as an instructor in the fleet. I welcome your feedback. I'm in the global as well as on the FE side out in Guam. You can reach out to me by email or send me a personal message with things that you'd like to see included in the training. We may do future versions, as well as any feedback you have for the training, and topics that you'd like to see covered in this format as well.